Some problem is with my laptop. Okay. Okay. So what I was trying to tell you is about the migration thing. So LSMW, normally we use it for our master data, like, cost center master, profit center master, and you can post some transaction data as well. Okay. But the problem with LSMW is a performance. It will take a long time to complete the data. That's the first thing. Second thing is when we have multiple screens, right? So this becomes a little crazy for LSMW. So in that case, we normally use either VDC or BAPI. BAPI is most effective. Okay, so we will be LSMW also in our sessions, right? So this is what basically the topics that we are going to cover. So as I mentioned, it requires 5 months, 5+ months to complete it. But if we extend little time, probably we can complete in 3.5 months to 4 months. That totally depends. Okay, and yeah, this is basically this topic is. So we will be covering the Fiori app as well. I mean, we'll open the Fiori apps and we can see some reports, right? So this is what on the whole that we are going to cover as part of finance and controlling. Any questions?
And are you going to cover interfaces? With
Interfaces we are not going to cover, because interface, what exactly the interface is, we will discuss first.
Okay.
We will discuss first what is SAP.
EDI.
Yeah, that's what SAP is here. We have some other tool, some other system, different system. Okay, different system. So what happens is this system will send some data to SAP system. System will send some data to SAP system. So in order to have the data, in a readable mode, what we require, what are the fields that the system is sending? First, we will discuss that. We will have to see what data the system is giving. And whatever the fields, let's say document date, posting data, account, whatever you have, all these fields have to be mapped with SAP fields. And the linkage has to be established with the help of technical people. So here we can see process integration, PI people are required. So that this data, as soon as the data comes here, it reads the data and puts into the SAP system. So the PI process, IDOCs, we call it as IDOC, right? So that part is required. So we are not going to cover the interfaces at all. That's purely this thing. That's the reason why we are not going to discuss EBS. Right. EBS is also part of the interface. Bank database, we are connecting with the bank database. It means the SAP system, SAP server is connecting with the bank database. As soon as the bank releases a bank statement, it will come to an SAP system and gets updated into the SAP system. That is again an interface.
Yeah. So they cannot do that, but only it's like how the interface.
Yeah, that we will discuss. Functional part. I mean, what exactly the interface is and how it works. Okay, those things, of course, if you want, we can discuss, but we will discuss after all these topics.
Okay.
Because this is basically a sequence. I want to deviate that part at all. So let's complete this thing and if at all.
So no. Like,
sorry.
No, this is so this is a comment I wanted to pass. Like that is a basis people are also included when it comes for connectivity, and also a BAPR people also they write some script by which the data get fed. So so just high level, if we get some knowledge, really
Yeah,
good.
I can provide some information, whatever is required from the functional perspective.
Oh, okay. And also you're going to talk about little bit about, report painter and all this. Like,
Report painter that we're not going to cover because COPA, the report itself is a report painter. We will be discussing that
oh,
part.
okay. I see. Okay. And do you know how to create the BAPI, like, or that is
No,
absolutely the job of the developer
technical
or
people.
technical people? Oh,
Technical people.
okay. I see.
Yes. So we don't have to.
Uh,
BAPIs are basically, the standard programs system. I mean, SAP is giving some standard programs, right?
hmm,
That's a
right.
standard program will be there in BAPI.
Oh,
Let's say, so cost center master data, let's say the SAP, if SAP has a standard BAPI in order to load SAP cost center master, what the developer will do is in his coding, he'll call that BAPI and makes this, the uploading of cost center happen.
oh, okay. Hmm.
So that's the basically the BAPI. In the case of BAPI, the performance will be more effective performance because SAP standard program. Whereas in the case of BDC, it's purely the technical people who does the coding. So it will have some performance issues. We are not going to cover BAPI, BADIS and all.
Oh,
So that's purely the technical part. We are not going to cover them.
I also that SMW is not gonna be used in the S4 HANA systems because
Who
mostly
told you that? No,
no,
no, we
because
are using, we can use.
LSMW in S4 HANA.
Ah, ah,
Oh, okay, okay,
I still use SW.
oh, okay.
I don't depend on, the technical people for each and every small things as well. We will use LSMW. Of course,
Oh,
as I said, SAP has given some migration tools, but those are not effective still. There are some issues. We will discuss them, but you will understand, the problems. It does not get updated properly. Lot of issues. It doesn't, it gives lot of standard errors. Okay, so at the moment we don't have proper migration tool working from SAP's front. Probably we might get in future versions. Okay,
all right.
so this is basically the finance and controlling, the topic. So just some history about what exactly finance, what exactly the controlling part is. Okay. Just we will discuss that part. As I said, in finance, so we will see general ledger transactions, vendor, customer, assets transactions here in this finance. It
Hmm.
means we can cover assets transactions, liabilities transactions, income transactions, and expense transactions. We can see all these types of transactions here in finance. But when it comes to controlling, when it comes to controlling takes care of only the expenses and incomes. It considers only expenses and incomes. It does not consider assets and liabilities. Why? Because we have an option to control these only. Control in the sense how to improve the income, how to reduce the cost. So we can concentrate on these only in order to uh, improve our profitability. We don't have any control on assets and liabilities. I need to buy a plant worth $1 crore. I have to buy. We cannot compromise on that. If I want to buy 10,000 or 1 million, 1 million, what you call the worth of the plant, then accordingly it gives the same level of output, right? So we will not have any control on assets and liabilities. Customers, vendors, we will not have a control. Suppose if you don't want to buy, if you don't want to sell on credit basis, so you will not have customers. What is the problem with it? your your market your market will be very limited. If you are selling only on cash basis, only few people will come and buy, right? So in order to expand your market, we have to improve all these kind of things. So it means we will not have a control on the balance sheet items. It means assets and liabilities items. We will have a control only on incomes and expenses. So the moment you post any expenses and incomes, it will go and sit in the controlling area. How does the system understand? Using a cost element category. So at the time of creating a income and expenses GL master, we will enter cost element category 1 for what? Expenses. 11 and 12. 11 basically for incomes, 12 for discounts, right?
Hmm.
This is what basically we will use. So based on this, system understands, yes, it is a cost element, and system takes that transaction into the controlling. Okay, so that's about the finance and controlling, how it is integrated. So in any transaction, in any other module, if any expenses and incomes are if any expenses or incomes are being posted, definitely that will hit our controlling. That will hit our controlling. Now, so these cost element categories are called primary cost element categories. These are called primary cost elements. The GL in finance is considered as a cost element in controlling. There is no change, only the name, only the term is changed. Here we will call it as salaries expenses GL. Here we'll call it as salaries expenses cost element. That's only the difference. Cost elements are two types, primary and secondary. These are all primary. So in the case of primary, what happens is the data comes from the outside into the controlling. It means it may come from finance, it may come from materials management, sales and distribution, production and planning, or whatever. So the data will come from outside the controlling module. Whatever the data is being pushed into the controlling area, that is nothing but primary cost element related stuff. What about the secondary? Within controlling area, you may have multiple objects, cost center, okay, WBS element, internal order, production order, whatever you call it as. Suppose I want to move from here to here, here to here. I mean, from one object to the other object. When I want to move the values within the controlling, when I want to move from one object to the other object, it means I want to move the values from cost center to internal order. This is where we require the secondary cost elements. Okay, so that's about a brief of what finance and controlling. Why are we considering only expenses and incomes in controlling? So this is what basically some information on that. Okay, so this is part of this thing, and the last thing is the timings. What are your preferable times, and how are we doing? So in a week, from Monday to Sunday, how many days do we require, and what are the timings? I just want to hear from you. Whatever we decide here, the same thing will be applied